Kia ora and welcome to a one-of-a-kind podcast series brought to you by Maxim Institute, Maximise Election 23. We're here every week to dive into the latest news, discussing the plain and the fancy articles. At the same time, we bring you insightful analysis of the various events across our country. We also present the Generally Good Egg Award and share our expectations for the following week.
Whew, boy. The last podcast before Election Day, and the race is tightening. Winston is kingmaker. Second election. Why are you laughing, Jason?
Yeah, so exciting. I said it. Never count them out, so here we are.
Oh, I see. So you're collecting on bets. But this is what's fascinating about this is that I don't know how you guys are doing personally. I love politics. I'm fascinated by it, but I'm exhausted, but I'm kind of invigorated as well. And it's like I feel like I'm limping across the line. And so is, I think, a lot of the other politicians. So, for example, we've got Christopher Luxon saying, if New Zealand First is a big deal, and we're going to have to call a second election, if it proves to be problematic, what do you guys make of that, Jason?
I think that when I read that, I thought he is trying to get more people to party vote national. Yeah, that's what I think. So it's the cynical part of me is like, this is a tactic because his big thing the whole election is 2 ticks blue, right? Yeah. Don't strategically vote. If you want to change, you've got to vote for the candidate and the party. So I think this is just doubling down on that and saying, look, we have to, you guys, this is important. If you don't want a second election, you've got to vote for us.
This is also tracking the narrative of major parties becoming major minor parties, the erosion of support for, you would, because I spoke with ex-national person in the last week, and they're like, they should be at 40%. They should not have to be doing this kind of stuff. There's a trend here, don't you think, Marcus?
Yeah, I think that whole thing around national having to be at 40% or comparing them to the heyday of like the Key government or Bill English even.
Not fair.
Not fair because actually you compare, I think we need to start thinking more about the right bloc, National and ACT, and you add those two together, they're polling at what John Key pretty much was at the heyday of, so you got 10 or 12% on ACT plus high 30s for National, you're at 48, which is John Key's sort of best performance.
Yeah, but you still need a sparkling-eyed little leprechaun.
That's right. David Seymour?
No. Winston. Do you not meet Winston Peter? Like in person, he has the most twinkling eyes you could possibly imagine. But it also, the whole, okay, we're going to call a second election. If we're pressed on this, that plays into the whole coalition of chaos narrative that Labour's been pushing. Good for National, bad for National. What do you think, Jason?
I indifferent on the effect that it's going to have. I think a lot of people have already decided, like you say, this has been a long election season, or it seemed really long. And I think people are they're like, I'm fed up. I just want to, I've had enough of this. I just want to vote and get it over with. I think there is a rumbling for change in a way. And so I think change is going to happen, but what that looks like.
A groundswell?
Yeah.
Teasing.
But I wonder.
No, I think so too. I mean, you look at the consistently the country's going in the wrong direction. So and also early voting numbers. I had wondered about whether there'd be apathy amongst voters, and I've anecdotally I hear stories of people going, "Meh, I just don't know. I don't even know if I want to get involved. I'm so put off by the whole thing." But that's actually not happening, Marcus. It's around sort of 2017 numbers.
Yeah, that's right. So the Electoral Commission puts out lovely graphs, which I always like, around this, and they've got a cumulative statistics about how many votes have been cast early at this time compared to other elections. 2020 obviously is an outlier because we were all encouraged to vote early. So about this time in the election, last time, 2020, there were 1 million people who voted. Now it's 500,000, which is obviously half, but more than the similar period in 2017. So I mean,
which is interesting because 2017 was seen as as an election where the narrative was Jacinda Ardern came in late and completely completely invigorated the electorate. So there's something happening here. Clearly, it's just not. It's not clear what it is.
I think that's right. But then also I think we're just getting more used to voting early. I mean, I came on this podcast 2 weeks ago saying how much I wanted to vote on the day and how everyone should vote on the day. And what do? Hypocrite that I am, go during the week and vote early.
So where'd you vote?
Just up the road at the Baptist Church on Remuera Road, and it was very, very smooth operation. Go to woe, 2 minutes, easy.
Yeah.
Did not need my voting card. Listeners, don't need your vote card. It arrived after I voted.
And what? So was it you voting, or did you have kids with you? What happened?
So we brought all 4 kids in, and they all got to tick a different box. Oh, not the baby, because she probably wouldn't keep it in the circle, but the others all got to tick a box. So.
There you go. Great. I think Marcus just invalidated his vote.
Yeah, that's right. I wonder, Marcus, is that what's the percentage of overall votes? So if we're on par with 2017, how many people voted overall, and how many people will have voted overall in this election? Because is it like a high percentage of total turnout?
So this is 500,000 voters on Saturday. We're recording on Monday, so we haven't got Sunday figures, so it'll be even higher now. But the electoral roll, I understand, is about 3.2 million people have enrolled to vote. Yeah. So 500,000 is what, a sixth of that, so 18%.
Yeah.
Remember, 25% of those enrolled will not vote.
Don't vote. Yeah.
So it's a fair chunk.
I'm going to pull back on a statement I made earlier where we don't know what's happening. I think we do know what's happening, which is that there's a great deal of discontent within the electorate. That discontent is being registered where we're seeing highly motivated people. They will be the ones who vote early. The apathetic ones will leave it till Saturday
or Sunday.
Sunday, and go, why didn't I vote? I'm not happy with this.
So, and I think this goes to for those people, it's a larger issue of credibility, which leads us to our next topic, which was the assertion by Te Pāti Māori that there had been a home invasion of their candidate. Hana Rawhiti Maipi Clark's place, the racially motivated attack, and also a ram raid. And this narrative captivated the mainstream press. There were like counter stories. Chris Bishop said, "Hey, our people are being attacked too." And I think there is certainly, we're going back to that sense of divisiveness and anger within the electorate. It's certainly there. Turns out the story wasn't true.
It was a bit different
Jason.
than what they said. Yeah. So it turns out that a gentleman in his mid-70s, was...
This is Graham Gunn.
Yes, Gunny, as he likes to be called, was very impressed with her performance at a debate or at a town hall meeting that he saw her at, and wanted to go talk to her. And so turned up and was invited in. She was unavailable, and so he just left and went home. So not quite the same headline.
Just to be clear, articles. The police have been involved.
So this is the assessment, that the police
so
made.
This is the police assessment, not a ram raid, not racially motivated, basically.
Not racially motivated, and not a home invasion.
Not a home invasion. And he's been trespassed, but you can trespass anyone.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a police.
Right, so anyone can serve a trespass order on...
That's right. So the idea is that everyone has an implied license to come up to your front door and knock on your door, but you can revoke that license. It's up to you.
Right.
To anyone.
You just
it's nothing to do with guilt or innocence. So I can say to you, Tim, I don't want you in my home.
Can I serve one on my kids? I'd
have to talk to Sifs about that.
But no, I mean, you just fill out a form and you give it to the person, and that's it. It's a simple procedure.
It's really, and John Tamahiri was talking about this, saying, "Oh, this is a whitewash." So he disputes the police's assessment of the facts, and then he said, "Well, our truth. This is an experience that many Māori people have with the police. They listen to the white person. They've got their truth. We have our truth. We know what's correct." I find that highly troubling because as we go through this election, I think we've all been talking at Maxim about not deepening the echo chamber, but trying to get outside of it. That was certainly something we spoke about in regards of artificial intelligence and the way the social media algorithms work. We don't want micro-targeting. We don't want to fall into that into that crevasse, if you like. But here is Te Pāti Māori saying, "Hey, this is our crevasse. You can't come in. and we want to deepen it.
And this, I think, is a symptom of MMP. That you have a broadening of the number of parties in Parliament, and that's to be more representative. So you break up the stranglehold of the two big churches, Labour and National. But that means that the smaller parties, what are the incentives for the smaller parties?
Yeah, they've got to grab votes, right? So they
campaign to the margins.
Yeah,
they campaign to their 5% plus one, or their electorate seats on certain issues or on certain ways of presenting things. They don't have to try and broaden out in the same way. We always...
So are you saying that MMP, in a sense, encourages extremism amongst a certain dissatisfied voter, where they might have to go through, okay, so I'm not being, my preoccupations are not being assuaged here, so I'm going to have to go, okay, what's the sensible vote? Sensible. I'm struggling for a word here, but you know what I'm saying is like I have to discipline myself to accept something that's not as good as I want.
You constrain yourself for the good of the whole in some ways when you're doing that.
Yeah, but then I think it's also one of the frustrations with FBP was that those sort of voters felt that they were unheard. And we've seen this in the last few years of people who feel unheard. That's deeply problematic for our democracy as well. So I'm not saying that it's a negative of MMP. I'm just saying that what are the incentives for these small parties? What are the why doesn't Chris Luxon or Chris Bishop do X, Y, and Z and talk to my concerns? Well, because they're playing for the centre.
Yeah. That means it's going to take a while to organise the government then, doesn't it? So let's do some predictions in terms of the way it's going to shake down. Now, I want to put you guys on the spot here. I want what you think will probably happen, but I want you to tease us with unlikely but still plausible. Okay. So I'll start because that's not fair. That's not fair to get you. So I would say probably it's National, ACT, and Winston first. Oops, pardon me. I meant to say New Zealand first. But also, I think I'm not quite sure of the arrangement. I feel they'll just make it. Might be 51, 52%. Unlikely, but still plausible. New Zealand first and National with ACT on the crossbenches.
Wow.
Because David Seymour and Winston Peters can't work together. There's huge animus there. So they need to make a deal.
So you're saying Winston gets more votes than ACT in that scenario?
No, what I'm saying, no, I'm not. I said it's still plausible. So I'm asserting the say New Zealand first, maybe 5, 6, 7. ACT will get 8, 9, 10. And National picks up the rest. Don't ask me to do the numbers, but that's how they configure it. Okay, lobbing it to, since you're interrogating me, Marcus, lobbing it to you.
Okay, so this my prediction is that it will be a National and ACT government without Winston. This is my not.
You're saying Winston won't make the 5%?
No. So he'll be in Parliament. He won't be needed. I think that Labour's vote will collapse. I think that
you're saying lower than 27%.
Oh, I think 22, 23.
Wow. Okay,
so they're lowest in quite a while.
I think people won't turn out for them. And turnout generally favours the right when it's lower. And I just think that those fundamentals are this is a change election. I think we get too focused on the ephemeral, on the things that are popping up.
And the back and forth of the campaign, which is the whole commentariat thing. It's like, there's something. No, look, Chippy's back from ISO.
Exactly.
Is that going to change the fundamentals?
I just don't think it will. I think the fundamentals are still there: crime, cost of living, etc. Okay, so my unlikely but
still plausible
is that. Okay, I'm going to say this: New Zealand first will ride a groundswell, and they will be larger than the Greens and ACT. They'll be the third largest.
Whoa! What's your evidence?
Never count. You don't need evidence for this.
Just reasons.
We have been talking about for the last week is Winston Peters.
Can I counter that with 55% of voters don't trust that he won't go with Labour? So there's a distrust issue there for Winston Peters that he has to negotiate.
27% said they did trust him, and if he gets half of that, he's the third largest in Parliament.
Wow.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, you've got your truth. I've got my
truth. We shall see.
Jason,
what
do you reckon?
My probably is National, ACT, New Zealand first. That's probably how it's going to shake out, I think. Just because I think that's
change election.
Yeah, I think so, and I think Winston
and dissatisfaction with Labor.
Yeah,
voter
I think so, and I think my possible but very unlikely scenario is that Luxon refuses to work with Winston, tries to call a second election, but instead Hipkins picks up the phone and there's a four-way left-centre coalition.
No.
Yeah.
You're saying Labour, Greens, Te Pāti Māori,
and New Zealand First.
First.
Is unlikely but possible. Yeah.
What's your plausibility factor
my
here?
Plausibility, you mean what percentage do I think?
So that's a second election.
No. So I think he tries to call a second election.
Got it.
Because he doesn't want to work with Winston. And so Winston goes and calls Hipkins and it's like, let's sort something out. And they do.
Yep. What do you think the reaction would be, Jason, if that occurred in the streets?
I think everyone would be upset, but it's part of our democracy, right? As long as you get over 60 seats, you get 61 seats.
If you cobble it together, you can make it happen.
And there's been four-party coalitions in other MMP configurations overseas.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right. Now I think, but how long will that take? Will that take a month?
I think it'll take a few months if it comes to that.
At all. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's shut this down. We come into the finish line. Generally good egg. Let's have something hopeful, something optimistic. Who have we got?
So we've already mentioned him. I think Gunny, as we mentioned.
This is Graham Gunn.
Mr. Gunn, yes.
This is the National Party member.
So this is what he said was he'd met Te Pāti Māori candidate.
This is Hana Rofiti, Maipi Clark.
At an event. She'd impressed him. He went round to her house after bowls because he was driving in the area and he lives nearby to say... well done on being their candidate. You did well.
I hope you get in.
And I think we need more people like you in Parliament was his thing as well.
So he's reaching across the aisle, having a personal, just nice interaction. Yeah. So we need more of that, and we need less of that reaction.
We need the less of the reaction to it. But the community part of it, it's like I saw you in person.
Yeah.
I think all of this stuff argues
live nearby.
I'll stop it on the way home from bowls.
Yeah.
It's a lovely story. Well, may our election conclude on such agreeable and cheerful terms. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Thanks
for listening to the Maxim Institute podcast. If you'd like to hear more from us and keep up with the rest of our research and analysis of politics and policy in New Zealand, you can sign up on the homepage of our website to get our monthly forum email and invitations to future Maxim Institute events. You can search and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. From the team at Maxim, mā te wā, goodbye for now.